here's Brody Brazil.
You know, I'm pretty sure that every time the Summer Olympic Games come around, I have this thought, but here in 2024, I'm going to make this video to talk about team handball. Like, there's an image from London in 2012. Oh my goodness, that was a dozen years ago, but I was fascinated with team handball. Like, this is a sport that has existed for a while. It is in the Olympics, and it's been an Olympic sport, I want to say, since the 60s or 70s, so it's not new to the Olympics by any means, but it doesn't really exist anywhere else in the mainstream sporting sphere, and I think it could, and I think it should. Of all the Olympic sports, like some of them you watch and say, yeah, this is only for the Olympics. I actually think team handball is one that could exist on a seasonal basis outside of the Olympics, at least culturally in North America. I think team handball could be the next big thing. And if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage that. I obviously can't play you any Olympic video clips here on the channel. I'll definitely get busted for that. But here's the basics on how they play team handball in the Olympics. 6 players for each team in the game at the same time, plus 1 for the goalie, so 7 total for each side. You basically get 3 seconds and 3 steps before you have to do anything. You get 3 seconds before you have to move, but then once you do move, you get 3 steps before you have to either shoot or pass or dribble. So it does feel like the combination of little basketball, little soccer, maybe a lot of water polo with goals on both ends. The court, by the way, is 131 feet long by 66 feet wide. So it's somewhere in the middle of bigger than a basketball court, but certainly not as big as a hockey arena. And that's the perfect thing too, right? If you were thinking about how do you implement this into regular North American sports in the calendar year, like anywhere you can play basketball or hockey, you can have team handball. It doesn't require anything special or that we don't already have in place. There's kind of the 20-foot goal area line, which I'm sure you'll see some photos of here in just a second. Basically, you can't stand right in front of the net like you can in hockey, right? Like you can't bug the goalie, you can't try for a tip or a redirection, you can't get up close and basically dunk on the goalie, but you can start and launch your shot from just outside that 20-foot goal area line, and obviously that's where a lot of the scoring happens. There's 2 30-minute halves, at least in the Olympic format, and from what I've watched, it feels like 25 to 30 goals per side is about what you get in one of these matches. So basically, a goal a minute or so. So there's a lot of back and forth. There's great saves. There's action. There's physicality. We'll get to some of that in just a second. I feel like I'm literally teaching people what this is as I try and encourage it to exist even more in North America. That's kind of what the ball looks like. Soccer ball, maybe water polo ball. It's in the middle of everything. But that's the actual ball that's used in play. In gameplay, there's obviously shorts and short sleeve shirts for both the men and women's side. You need knee pads because you're falling all over the place. There's a lot of jumping. There's a lot of back and forth. It's hard to say that this is exactly like one other sport. It's really not. It's actually like literally a combination of multiple sports. But there you can see that player number 7 right there is throwing and shooting. It looks like they're shooting from just outside that goal line. And yeah, you can be defended. There's a little bit of grabbing and pulling. There are fouls and penalties called. No question about that, which we'll get into in a second. But you're trying to get it in that goal. There's a goalie, so it's kind of like soccer in that way. And yeah, just like soccer, you can get carded by the official. You can't do anything and everything. Like, this is not all-out rugby. Is this also like rugby too? Maybe to a certain degree. But in my opinion, here are the takeaways. This is an Olympic sport. Maybe this is the biggest Olympic sport that could and should go mainstream somewhere else. It has pace, like fast breaks, back and forth. And I apologize if I'm not up to speed on the team handball lingo. I've never covered this sport. I've only barely watched it a handful of times for sustained periods. It's got energy, right? It's got passion. It's got fired up players once they get a goal, and depending on how they got it, or a goalie with a big save, there's a lot of fist pumps. There's a lot of back and forth to this. There's also a lot of skill, right? Some cutting, some agility, some flexibility, strength, speed, all of that included for a good team handball player. It's no disrespect to other sports, but sometimes you look at a person participating and you say, well, they're very skilled, but this is not an athletic event. Like, they have good hand-eye coordination, but maybe you're not using your entire body as an athlete. In team handball, you literally are using your entire body as an athlete. I also want to say, though, we're talking about playing this sport and the technicalities and the strategy and the X's and O's. From the viewer's perspective, from the fan perspective, here's why this could and should go big. It's easy to watch. It's easy to digest, and it's easy to understand. There's not a lot of things that happen, like, for example, in cricket. You ever watch cricket? I mean, as a North American. Huh? What? Or rugby even. What just happened? I don't know the rule. I don't know what I just watched. Team handball, very easy to pick up, understand, comprehend, and enjoy. So what does team handball need? Well, it needs some mainstream, recognizable, dominant players. It needs a league to form. It needs a platform and a way for people to watch these respective games and teams and league that forms. So I don't know if there's money behind this. And, you know, you think about even like what Ice Cube has done with the Big Three basketball league. And it's different, right? Because it's not a year-round thing. It is a seasonal thing. It's organized and it has a schedule, but it doesn't feel like a full-scale, full-blown league. Maybe that's how team handball starts, where it's more like a touring event. They bring it around the country. It's not a bunch of teams in their geographies traveling and all that stuff, because that gets hard and that gets expensive from the start. So maybe team handball to begin, maybe it's kind of a traveling exhibition, and if it does well, it can grow from there. But I really think every time I've seen this in the summer games, I'll watch it and I'll say, why hasn't this become a thing yet? And don't get me wrong, I realize the rest of the world has grasped team handball. Like, there are leagues and there are countries with their respective teams, not just in the Olympics, but for other tournaments and events. I'm saying it is something that could exist mainstream here in the North American sports calendar and cycle. And I hold true with that. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think something like that could exist and last sports-wise in North America? Hey, you made it here to the end of this video. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll help me in this video, in this channel. If you're just seeing me for the first time, that's great. I'm glad you found me. I would like the thumbs up. I would love it, though, if you go down there and hit that subscribe button down below right now. That way, I definitely get to see you back here next time.